Whether you're having a not moving off the couch while you watch the game kind of day, or a no time between conference calls kind of day, it can still be a delicious Dunkin' kind of day. And with Dunkin' now available on DoorDash, it's easier than ever to get your faves brought right to your door. So if you're looking for coffees, donuts, and breakfast sandwiches in the morning, craving some afternoon snack and bacon, or in need of Dunkin' refreshers for a PM pick-me-up, we've got you covered. Order now and get your faves brought to your door through Grubhub, Uber Eats, and DoorDash. Price and participation may vary. Exclusions apply. America runs on Dunkin'.
Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe.
Welcome to the Stephen Shiels radio show. I've got Patrick back on today. How are you, Patrick?
I'm going well. It's a beautiful day.
Beautiful day out there after the floods we had in Sydney as well. Did you end up getting flooded?
No, I'm on top of a hill, so I'm quite safe.
Our dam got so full, we were thinking, oh God, it was going to flood the whole place.
It's actually a bit scary.
I know. Like all up to the Central Coast got flooded and all that.
Yeah, there's a lot of flooding around. That whole Horseshoe Valley,
Mm.
you know, from just kind of not far past Camden all the way down to the ocean, basically.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who are very, very wet.
Oh, yeah. It was a wet one. The grass is green out there, too.
Oh, yes, yeah, that's the other thing. The grass is now greener.
Yeah. It is greener out there.
Yeah.
You know. Other than that, I was listening to an audiobook on Audible called The Fortunate Life by A.B. Facey.
I know of it. I've never actually read it.
Patrick, it's like a really interesting book. You got to read it before you pass on because
I know of it. It's one of these books that's kind of tagged away in the back of my list of these are great stories from World War I that I should read.
He lived through the Spanish flu. He had went to World War One. Got injured during the war. He ended up having a business as a farmer, but all the crops were dying out.
Yeah.
You know, he had a son who went to war and went missing as well.
Yeah.
And his wife died before him, and I think he was in his 80s when he died.
Yes, it's one of these life stories of a bloke who just held on and considered himself happy and actually considered himself happy despite the fact that everything was going wrong.
Yeah. His childhood was rough too.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then they were paying $1 shilling a week in those days.
Yeah, well, that $1 shilling could buy a lot more.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, it's very hard to compare what people were being paid with back in those days with what they're being paid with now. Precisely because, but nevertheless, the wage disparity was so much worse that the bloke the ordinary working stiff really had to put up with not having a comfortable life at all.
No. He actually, he caught the Spanish flu and he isolated. He mentioned that, but he called it like a flu in the book.
Yeah.
Or in the audio book. But, man, it was, Patrick, it's one of those things you can listen to it more than once.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you've had a good read too, you.
Yeah. You know. Yeah.
It's funny, I've never actually got into audiobooks. I've always read books myself.
Yeah, you're a reader, are you?
Yeah.
Do you speed read or do you just read normal?
Speed reading is one of these things. It's really a bit of a myth. Speed reading is essentially skim reading. Mm-hmm. And there are times I do it when I get a bit bored with what I'm reading. Well, sometimes when you're reading moderately technical stuff, the first time you're reading, you don't really want all the detail. You just want to know what it's about.
Mm.
And sometimes when some authors write their books, they do get a bit carried away with their own sense of self-importance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I won't mention what happened to a certain young wizard and how the novels about him got twice as thick by volume 6, literally.
Harry Potter.
By volume 6, it was twice as long as volume 1.
Oh, good.
Because it was so successful, they'd be dead editor.
Mm.
I mean, a couple of those novels I would have cut about a third out of.
You reckon?
Yep.
Yeah,
and they would have been better for it.
They take a while to read. Like 600 pages is a lot.
That's what I mean. As I said, but the first one wasn't 600 pages. I think the first one was just a short, sharp story.
Yeah.
But then, because it was so successful, nobody dared tell her that, hey, maybe the story was better if it weren't so long. I'm quite serious about that.
Yeah.
I'm particularly thinking of, I think it was about volume 4 of The Order of the Phoenix, I think that was. That really was. Nothing happened in it.
Yeah, well, another book too I tried to read was The Lord of the Rings. That just kept going on and on and on.
Now, that is a massive set of books, yes. I haven't read that for over 40 years.
You're better off reading The Hobbit. It's just
the Hobbit is a different story altogether.
Yeah.
The Hobbit is a story that was mainly written for younger people when you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
The Hobbit was almost a kid's yarn.
Mm.
And it was an adventure story with that mythic background. It was set in that created world of Tolkien.
Mm.
And don't forget, this was Tolkien's actual professional trade. He was a medieval scholar with an interest in mythology.
Mm.
And when he wrote The Hobbit, it was so successful.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he had this ring in it, nobody knows for certain, as far as I know, whether or not when he wrote The Hobbit he was thinking about The Lord of the Rings or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Frodo found this ring that made him invisible, which worked beautifully, and Schmagol, who owned the ring, find him. It wasn't clear at that stage, for instance, that Schmagol was an ex-Hobbit.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it, I don't know whether when he was writing it, he was thinking about he was going to develop that particular little... It was only a very small point in the story of The Hobbit into the centre of a massively huge volume. And then, if you think The Lord of the Rings is hard to read, Tolkien then wrote something called the Silmarillion, which is all the backstories to the Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never managed to get past about page 3 of that. Because of the same overly ornate, overly written style that at the time was new and exciting.
Mm-hmm.
See, let's not forget, we are talking about something written well over 60 years ago, close to 70 years ago. That's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
About 60 years ago, 70 years, but I didn't hit the Lord of the Rings until I was in my late teens, which is now 50 years ago. So when he wrote it, it was something that was quite different. Just as, getting back to what we started with, the Harry Potter was actually not totally new. There have been stories about schoolboy witches and wizards. I've actually read several in my time before Harry Potter came out. But it was English. It had that absolutely English boarding school adventure type feel to it, which is an absolute classic of English writing. I mean, there have been stories about that going all the way back to Arnold's Tom Brown school days, which was an absolutely moralistic load of... Oh, that's another story. But there's a whole long tradition of it. Billy Bunter stories by Frank Richards, who you've never heard of. Quite a lot of these things. Stories of schoolboys and schoolgirls having adventures which is a very English kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
The Americans had it too. They had the Bobbsies and things like that, but the English kind of had this boarding school theme. And what Rowling's great feature was, she managed to throw in this whole magic bit, and there has been for some time this sense of magic and floating around. I mean, children were already reading some kind of fantasy stories about magic and things, but she just managed to combine the two so seamlessly. Mm-hmm. So they just went bang. And it was a bloody good read.
Wow.
That first, the Philosopher's Stone was a really good read, a good ripping yarn.
Well, you know who else was a good author? C.S. Lewis in the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yes, that's it. See, Chronicles of Narnia are a full generation earlier. Mm-hmm. Although probably you wouldn't know that, because I read those when I was quite young. Mm-hmm. And I didn't read them all. I probably could. I think I still have a complete set on my shelves somewhere. Mm-hmm. I can't remember because it's one that I haven't looked at for some time. But again, he kept them tight. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, again, good fantasy stories, although very, very moralistic overtones on it. When you think about it, these stories were all very moral, and a lot of not heavily concealed Christian symbolism in the Narnia stories. Most of them, something like The Hawks and His Boy just kind of was always struck as being an odd one that kind of sat just as almost a standalone story. Mm-hmm. Because it just involved characters who had nothing to do with the mainstream. However, again, he just... And the style of writing was friendly. It was readable.
Well, to be an author, because I'm not a writer, Patrick, I don't know how you become creative writing stories like that.
Yes, it's funny. They do teach creative writing. You can actually, if you want to. I don't know how they teach it. Mm-hmm. And if you ask successful authors, now, and where they get their ideas from, if you listen carefully to their answers, most of them are actually made up. Some people do have two things that really different. Quite a good imagination, but more importantly, and I think this is how what makes them good writers, you need to be able to see how to put it together, put your idea together into a pattern that actually makes a good story. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you think of those people who churn out books like, say, Stephen King.
Oh, God. Oh.
He's written some very good stuff.
Yeah, I tried to read stuff by Stephen King, but it was just very random in the beginning. It's just too random.
Well, if by random you mean he kind of... Again, some of the stuff he's written has been quite written and it's been rather good. I'm not going to... to be honest, I can't think of what I'm thinking. I can't remember which ones I was thinking of, but I've read a couple of them. And I said, hey, they're a good yarn.
Well, is he science fiction, is he?
Now, here's the horror stories.
Yeah.
It's more in the horror genre. And in horror stories, you need, again, that capacity to be able to scare people.
Gotcha.
And you need to read something like Stephen King, you have to be prepared to suspend your disbelief. You have to be prepared to accept stuff that is really, as you said, random, stuff that is really quite... If you thought about it and said, hey, this is nonsense. I mean, a lot of Stephen King stories, when you think about them, are actually nonsense. But they're a good story. I mean, they're nothing like ghost stories and talking dolls that chase you around and things like this. They're a branch of fantasy. But they're the dark side of fantasy.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of Stephen King fans out there. I'm not putting him down, but tried to read it.
Right, as I said, some of the stuff, and I chose him as an example precisely because he's a prolific writer. who actually doesn't follow many formulas. He actually gets new ideas a lot. He gets a lot of quite radically different ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, he kind of is really quite extraordinarily different.
It's very creative.
Basically, somewhere along in his life, he developed a capacity for seeing what scares people and how to scare people. And not only that, how to make it real enough for people to actually follow it and accept it. So that's the real skill in his writing. He makes this quite implausible, quite absurd stuff quite real to the person who's reading along.
Yeah, I mean, each to their own, Patrick. I mean, I like listening to like Australian stories, history. That's real life, you know.
Yeah.
Fortunate life for one, and I'm planning to listen to some stuff on Ned Kelly as well.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff on Ned Kelly. And there's a lot of fiction about Ned Kelly. And not a huge amount of accurate history. Which doesn't mean they're not good stories. And it doesn't. And a lot of this semi-fictional stuff reads as if it's history, but you have to be careful to say that it's not really. Hey, that's it. Like a book that calls itself The True History of the Kelly Gang probably isn't. The very title suggests that it probably isn't.
Ned Kelly, was he a criminal?
Ned Kelly was a criminal, yes.
But like he's remembered in history a lot too.
Yeah. Well, he was a criminal. He was quite a brutal criminal, actually.
Yeah.
But at the same time, his backstory was bloody rough. So he wasn't one of these people who decided to become a criminal. You know, he wasn't a cold-blooded, I'm going to go out and rob banks. He was reacting to what were, in fact, quite intolerable situations. But he was overreacting and reacting in ways that ended up with him being, you know, a serious criminal. It's the only word for it.
Yeah, because I remember learning about Ned Kelly when I was in school. He was talked about, which I didn't know. I don't know why the school system teaches about Ned Kelly if he's a criminal.
Well, he was also a cultural icon. He was a symbol of Australia. This is the thing. Because of the backstory to him, a lot of people actually saw him as a hero. You know, because of the way he thought, because of the way to use the contemporary phrase, he stood up to the man. Which is what he was doing in many ways. But at the same time, he was a pretty bloody brutal bloke. I mean, one of his intentions in that final siege was he was attempting to derail the train. Now, derailing a train is an inevitable killing of people.
Derailing a train? So what's that? I've never heard of that.
Oh, well, the train, he knew there was a train coming in with troops.
Yeah. So
what he did was he attacked the railway line. So when the train came along, instead of staying on the railway line, it was going to go flying off the rails, literally, and crash.
Jesus Christ. He did that?
Yeah, fortunately for the train, the school bus got out and stopped it before it hit that point.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, that's one part of his story, but the other part of his story is that his original push into criminality was a series of circumstances where, while the choices weren't completely free, he didn't have much leeway to play with. So the fact that he became a criminal, he became a bushraker, he became an outlaw, technically is the best word for it. He left the bounds of society, became an outlaw. Were a series of, you know, quite bad police misbehaviour. Well, it was bad, which kind of pushed him over the edge. And this is why people see him as a hero, because they see his reaction to the misbehaviour that caused him to become the criminal. And they don't see what he did when he was a bushranger, he was, going highway robbery. Basically, going out there, giving you money, and basically, and he made a business of it. So, the question of, the crime to which he was actually hanged might not have been murder, might have been a semi-self-defence because the policeman who he shot might not have been actually doing the right thing himself. But he would have been hanged as a bushranger anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So the hanging was quite well within the bounds of what he did.
Mm.
So it's an interesting story, and it's one that, but because things like the suit of armour
mm-hmm.
that has become a major image. The Sid Nolan paintings of Ned Kelly are major Australian masterpieces of art. They kind of show this quite abstract Ned Kelly. They have a square black number bloke with a square black box
mm-hmm.
with a slit in the eyes in it to show the helmet that he was wearing as part of the armour, things like this.
Mm.
And so it's a culture. So it's become a very important part of the story we tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And how we read that story depends to some extent on to the extent to which we are prepared to accept the damage he did because of the damage that was done to him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a much more complicated one than either side makes out. There are some around who simply say Ned Kelly is the villain, he deserved everything he got.
Mm-hmm.
There are others who say he was a Robin Hood type of figure who was cruelly done by and shouldn't have been hanged because that was unfair, unjust, because he didn't do that particular murder.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, in a lot of these historical cases, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, he's...
Don't let me put you off reading about Ned Kelly, because the more you read about him, the more you realise, particularly if you read a range of stuff, that the story is complicated.
Yeah, well...
If you read Peter Carey, also read Peter Fitzsimons, is what I'm saying.
Well, that's it. I mean, I try to read stuff by the ABC.
Yeah.
I feel they're a bit more accurate, but, yeah, look, I'll take your advice on that about Ned Kelly.
Yeah.
It's
definitely worth reading about, because knowing his story is knowing what has become a major Australian story.
Mm. But see, other than that, you had like Captain Cook coming to Australia, but he wasn't the first man to have discovered Australia.
Well, let's say that there were the dark-skinned people who walked over 50,000 years earlier.
It wasn't the Aborigines discovered Australia.
The Aborigines walked over 50,000 years earlier.
Yeah.
They basically walked in or boated in across to the Northern Territory.
Yeah.
And migrated slowly southwards.
Mm.
And there was trade up in the north, up in the Darwin area, with Malaysia going on well before Cook. And the Dutch and even one Englishman had landed on the coast of Western Australia well before Cook. But in all of these cases, in the case of the Aboriginal people, they weren't going anywhere, they were coming to stay. So the fact that they were here wasn't known to the rest of the world. And the other ones were all kind of accidental and incidental trips. They're kind of landing and moving on. And nobody was paying much concern, because much of that coast of Western Australia is not the most attractive place to land and hang around in. So when they landed, they were not always the place, hey, this looks like a great place. Whereas when Cook hit the east coast of Australia, and he came up along the east coast, when he hit the Botany Bay area around there, came across country that was nice and rich and growing, and there's lots of water around and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was worth saying, hey, we want it. And the other thing is that whereas the other fellows were generally traders who were floating around that area, they were out there on business.
Mm-hmm.
Cook was in this area specifically on a navigation exercise.
Mm-hmm.
He was here specifically to navigate and to map. That's what his specialty was. He was a map man.
Mm-hmm.
He was a map maker. That's what his whole career was, map making. And that's it. It's really kind of his earlier story when he was in Canada. Well, it's why the French Canadians don't like him. It was he who navigated the river for the English so they could take the Canadians out.
Mm-hmm.
And the other boys were all mapping voyagers.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a specialist navigator and a very good map maker.
Mm-hmm.
So when he drove up that east coast of Australia, he did more than actually claim the country in the name of England, which he did. He also made it, he defined it much better. He gave a much truer picture of what it looked like. And also, nobody actually knew at that east coast of Australia. Nobody had actually drawn a picture of that east coast of Australia before at all. There were partial maps of the west coast of Australia in existence.
Mm.
And so, and even though he wasn't the first, when you think about it, what he did is still pretty bloody remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a ship, I mean, that was advisedly, not much bigger than a Manly ferry.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
To set out across with, and the other thing was they were just getting good navigation because he was also testing the new chronometers, which meant that at long last they could find out where they were east and west around the globe.
Mm-hmm.
They could find out their longitude. Because until prior to that, there were ways of finding out where you were around the globe, but they involved immensely complex calculations using phases of the stars and the moon.
Well, latitude and longitude, but then you've got, apparently you can navigate with the stars, but I don't know how you do that. You can navigate with the sun as well.
Yeah, well, okay, for latitude, which is north-south, if you know where the sun is at noon,
mm-hmm.
and you know the time of the year,
mm-hmm.
then you know how far south you are and how far north you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically, you know where the sun is supposed to be, you see how far it is away from where it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's how far you're away from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy. Celestial navigation is part of what they're doing with... The celestial navigation enables you to find north and south and directions easily,
mm-hmm.
properly. That's mainly celestial navigation is about finding routes.
Mm-hmm.
But to find out about your distance north and south, you need to look at things like planets
mm-hmm.
and the moon, particularly the moon. And I've seen the calculation once, and it is a complicated one. But what it does is it effectively tells you what the time is where you are. To find your longitude, you need to know your time. But you also need to know what the time is back where you started from, because then longitude is measured by measuring time differences. And one way you could do it was by using quite complex calculations using the position of the moon in the sky.
Mm.
But again, it's quite complex and non-trivial. Whereas using the good clocks, the chronometers, it's still not trivial, but I can teach it to a year 11 maths class.
Mm.
It used to be, in fact, that used to be part of the year 11 maths syllabus.
Yeah.
For general maths, they could actually do solar navigation.
Well, you're a mathematician. Do you reckon you could solve the calculations for the stars?
Not without instruction.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because it's special skill. I mean, you need the tables.
Yeah.
What they do is they have tables of where the stars are in the sky.
Yeah.
How the stars move. The almanacs, they have tables of where the stars are supposed to be.
Yeah.
So if you look at the stars, these stars are there.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, I think they're supposed to be there. Then again, you can work it out from that.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically it's all a matter of you need to get reference points.
Mm.
But so navigation is, well, until the late 20th century, a very imprecise art.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only towards the end of the 20th century they started developing technologies that took navigation away from measuring things outside to using man-made or similar reference points.
Mm-hmm.
That you go bang, 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 and put it in your calculator, get the answer in seconds.
Mm.
Whether you're having a not moving off the couch while you watch the game kind of day, or a no time between conference calls kind of day, it can still be a delicious Dunkin' kind of day. And with Dunkin' now available on DoorDash, it's easier than ever to get your faves brought right to your door. So if you're looking for coffees, donuts, and breakfast sandwiches in the morning, craving some afternoon snack and bacon, or in need of Dunkin' refreshers for a PM pick-me-up, we've got you covered. Order now and get your faves brought to your door through Grubhub, Uber Eats, and DoorDash. Price and participation may vary. Exclusions apply. America runs on Dunkin'.
The sweet aromas of the apple fritter, cinnamon roll, and blueberry muffin are hard to resist. So making it the rest of the way home without reaching in your McDonald's bag is no easy task. But nothing worth doing is easy.
Wake up and pair any one of these sweet, fluffy, frittery bakery treats with a McCafe iced coffee. Get any size and any flavor for just 99 cents until 11 a.m. Price and participation may vary.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
The first one of this is something called Loran, which is radio waves, and it works on exactly the same principle as global positioning state does.
Mm-hmm.
The radio station sends out pulses, and if you have a station there and a station over there, you know where the stations are, and they send out a pulse at the same time, and they arrive at different times. If you measure the time difference, you can put a line on the map showing where you must be for that time difference to happen.
Mm.
Then you get a third station, you go, that one, you get a second line, and where those two lines cut, that's where you are.
Well, navigation can become so complicated, even in the Royal Fire Service, because a gust of wind, well, if you're out in the ocean, it pushes you, I don't know, a kilometre or something west, and then you got to find your way back as well.
Yeah, that's it. And this is where the global positioning network has changed us all.
Wow.
I mean, nowadays, I pick up my phone, I press my phone, I go bing, 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 and it tells me where I am within 5 metres.
Yeah, your location.
Yeah, within 5 metres, 5 to 10 metres accuracy. Which is crazy. But we live in a world where precision like this is now expected.
Mm. It's kind of an invasion of privacy too, because, well, hey, the government can track you where you are. Well, they know where you are.
If I use the global positioning system,
yeah,
it talks to me. I don't talk to it.
Ah, gotcha.
There's no communication from me back to the satellite.
Yep.
The satellite says 1201, beep, and 4 satellites all together say 1201 and go beep.
Mm-hmm.
My phone receives 4 beeps, beep, 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 beep. and using the time difference between them, which are somewhat shorter than the ones I indicated, it can then say, hey, you're on this particular curve, you're on this curve, actually the surfaces, you're on this one, where they all meet is right there, and that's where you are.
Yep.
Your latitude, your longitude, and your altitude are all given.
Yeah, look, because I don't turn my location on my phone on, only if I've got to go somewhere, because I think, well, Can the government spy on me like that?
Well, the people who spy on you
Yeah.
are more likely the people for whom when you turn the location services on. When you use something like Google,
Yeah.
you do see back information to people like Google. But if you're not signed in, you are simply the user of this phone was there.
Yeah. Look.
But Google does get location of its phones.
Yes. Google Maps.
So when you use Google Maps, which also uses the GPS system,
Yeah.
it uses the GPS system to find your latitude and longitude.
Yeah.
But it uses the Wi-Fi network to give you the map.
Yeah.
See, the maps don't come from the satellite. Maps have to be provided elsewhere.
Or your cellular data.
Cellular data is very imprecise.
Yeah.
Cellular data is quite rough and ready. Because if you're like where I am now, there's only one cell phone in my area, so the cellular data for me would give me a radius of, several kilometres. No, the maps use GPS data, and if you're using Google Maps, you have to ask for the map. They send you the map. That's why it takes time for the map to load. It's not in your phone. It comes downloaded to your phone each time. And then you then send them back your location and things like whether you are moving or not. Because that is how, if you use Google Maps, that is how they actually get their traffic information.
Well, I've actually walked away from Google, Patrick. I've gone to DuckDuckGo, and I can tell you why. Because everything you're searching on Google, they're storing your information.
They do actually. They store a lot of the stuff is stored locally on your phone. They also store it their end.
Now, DuckDuckGo, you can erase all that.
Well, yes, you can. But anyway, that's what's about Google Maps.
Yeah, it's the same with Google Maps.
And the thing about all mapping systems have do that same thing.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes it really obvious that the Google Maps does track your phone, not you.
Yeah.
Is that if you look at a Google map and says, what's the traffic like, and it says, there's a lot of cars here, what it is really saying is there are a lot of iPhones there. That's what they do, they count the phones.
Yeah, it's a bit creepy.
It is a bit creepy.
You got all this technology like these Amazon Alexas and Echoes. I don't use those, and Google Homes. I think they're recording everything people are saying and spying on you.
There is, again, there are kind of layers of what they do. Quite a bit of it is stored locally rather than it's head upstream. But definitely if your microphone is on, it is recording locally what you were saying. And the other thing is, a lot of the stuff that goes upstream is hived off into particular compartments in that business. And it is used mainly, as you might have noticed with people like people, for advertising purposes. Because that's what Google is really, it's an advertising company. It sells advertisements.
Well, you think when you just, have you ever had times you're on Google and then all of a sudden you're bombarded with these ads that are just targeting?
It sells advertisements. Now,
I don't like that. And with DuckDuckGo...
I find that I don't get many of those because the way I got my settings very tight. Like I don't sign into Google on my phone and things. On my desktop I'm signed in because I use Gmail occasionally. But I do most of my search on the laptop or on the desk, on the phone. So all I know is that the phone with the ID XYZW is looking at this kind of thing, and what it does is it tailors its news feed to me as well as advertisements. So I don't get bombarded with all that many advertisements because again I've got a lot of notifications turned off.
Yeah, I'd suggest you move to DuckDuckGo, Patrick.
Oh, no, I'm quite happy with Google. After all, I'm supporting my nephew who works for them.
Yeah.
Family. It's in my family.
Was it?
My nephew and his wife actually both work for them.
Yeah, look, it was in my. I was using Google for years, but then it's gotten to a point where it's getting harder to search because of the algorithm now, and all these keywords, and it's just I'm fed up with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes they do try to predict a bit.
Like DuckDuckGo is just so much easier.
Yeah, as I said, I'm inertial in this matter. I kind of just quietly do what I do, and it seems to work fairly well. But it is actually the thing is that historically it became the first search engine that actually worked.
But there's so many search engines out there like Yahoo, MSN, Bing.
Well, a lot of it. I mean, I moved away from Yahoo.
Yeah.
30 years ago. Sorry, I tell it fib.
Yeah.
It would be mid-90s. Moved away from Yahoo because in those days Yahoo wasn't a search engine as such. Yahoo was actually a directory service, and you had to search through trees. And it didn't find as much. So at that stage, there was a mob called Alta Vista, who were the go-to one because they were the cleanest. You searched and you got what you're looking for.
Yep.
And it had very clear, very simple algorithms, for... Google had the... Google was big because its original and its key algorithm was that it used what's actually its library course is called the citation index. What it would do is it would refer you to the site first that other site you referred to. So if you look for something like, say, Income Tax Australia, it would refer you to the company or the government that other people had already flagged for income tax. So it meant that it was a pretty reliable way of finding the most probable answers quickly.
Yeah, but the answers aren't always accurate. That's the problem.
No, hang on. The answers... Google doesn't give you any answers, don't forget.
Yeah.
This is one of the problems. Google doesn't give you answers. Google gives you places where you look for the answer. And its algorithms were designed to put you in the place that was most likely, not guaranteed, to give you a good answer. And their algorithms are still, their search algorithms at least, are still essentially designed to try to do that.
Do you think they're going to get to the point with algorithms that are going to read people's minds about what they're going to search for?
Not necessarily, because you do random things. No, seriously, my search is thinking quite random.
Yeah.
Because it's something that's coming up instantly what I was doing. But a funny one, actually on algorithms, but it was actually predictive text. I was writing yesterday to actually write talk about a crossword, and I was talking about. I was going to say yes. Let's remember what I wrote this fairly well. Custard fruit and pawpaws are. I put the words D, and it immediately offered me delicious.
So it just did that by itself?
It offered the word delicious, because what it said, I'm talking about fruit.
Yeah.
And I've got a word starting with D. It must mean delicious. In fact, I was going to say quite different things. So I had to actually write, but I said, it's quite a funny moment there, I was going, of attempting to read my mind and getting it completely wrong. So it does happen. That was, I think, a really nice case of how these algorithms aren't quite there yet, thank you.
Well, they're trying it with YouTube as well, like they want trying to get people to binge watch on YouTube with like an autoplay thing too, and the algorithms.
Yeah, well, I probably turn on YouTube once a month.
Yeah. Facebook
if I'm
is
lucky. Facebook, I might open Facebook twice.
Because every time you're using your Facebook, you get bombarded with advertisement.
Yeah, like I said, I've actually not used. I actually don't use Facebook apart from when I'm referred to there by somebody else.
Yeah, like I'm staying away from it because.
Well, as I said, I use Facebook. I use Facebook as a tool. When somebody sends me to Facebook because they have information in Facebook that I need.
And that better be academic information.
Oh, it could be. I'll rephrase it. Information I want. I don't necessarily need it. Something I want to know about.
Yeah.
Or I might be genuinely interested in.
I mean, you're getting all these news sites as well that are trying.
On the news sites, you are just.
They're trying to just bombard people with all this information like that. Like I can go on MSM and boom, all this random junk comes up.
Yeah, there are a lot. Yeah, as I said, one of the reasons why you get random junk, and I get fairly random junk in the news feeds in Google, is that I don't follow many of those. If you don't follow things and you have random search patterns, they don't know what to send you. And in fact, with Google, I've turned off tracking.
Yeah, good on you.
You can actually turn off that tracking off.
Yep.
So I actually turn tracking off. So I just get random. The only thing that I get is occasionally, because I've clicked on things, they'll use the cookies and they'll tell me, hey, I've looked at watches before, so I'll look at watches again.
What's the purpose of cookies? I don't understand that.
Right. Cookies, they sit in your computer, so you control them. It's important.
Yeah.
A cookie often says, for this site, you last visited the site at this date, and you went to this page on this site. Or it might say, you went to this site, and you typed this word in on this site. What it does is that on your computer, it is a small, and a very small, tracker that tells the site you're visiting that you've been there before and you went to this part of it. Just as a very brief note about how you interacted with the site last time.
Yeah,
and what that means is that next time you go to the site, it is set up to bring more prominently the same place you went to last time and things, or have the information that you sought last time available.
I decline them because I don't want that.
Most cookies can decline. For that reason, but if on serious business sites, not even serious business sites, cookies are pretty important. Because it can save you a lot of telling the same story over and over again. On a lot of other kind of entertainment sites, yes, you can decline them with no real worry. Although some sites actually require you to accept the cookie before they let you in. And a lot of those I don't go into.
Well,
because among other things, cookies enable them to tailor their advertising.
Well, that's all it is. Trying to sell you stuff. They're doing it on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat, Twitter.
Yeah. Well, for those, with them, the cookies really are about tracking the cookies basically fill in when you were in last and a very quick snapshot of what kind of thing you did last time. And don't forget the cookie is on your computer. You own the cookie.
Cookie, I like that, cookie.
But you own. They need crafts. That's why they call them cookie.
Yeah.
But you own the cookie. They don't.
The other thing too with Facebook is what Mark Zuckerberg has some serious questions to answer. Because
carry on.
You know, every time you're using Facebook, they're tracking you what you're doing.
Yeah. But that's the nature of what Facebook is about.
And he got taken to court, I think, in Congress because that's kind of invading privacy.
Well, again, there's a lot of privacy that people surrender. I mean, there was a lot of issues about default settings at one stage. At one stage with Facebook, you signed into Facebook, and unless you dug deep and said, no, I don't want to, everything that you put in was public to everybody. I mean, I've got a Facebook. My setting on Facebook's are the only people who can see the only people who can see information about me, my personal information on Facebook, is me. I've nailed down that tightly.
Well, I'm only using Facebook for my business, you see.
Yeah. Same idea, yeah.
But I'm to the point I'm fed up with it, man. It's just the algorithm's too competitive now, and if you don't have the 10,000 followers, it's just you virtually don't exist.
Yeah.
But that's the world we live in. With cookies and all that, never ends. You know that.
Yeah.
But it's like I remember, Facebook started in 2004.
Yes, and it started off as very much a undergraduate university students communicating. Because it started off as a quick way of talking to each other. And like a lot of these things, it had one idea when it started. That worked so well that other things just started being added to it. And instead of being just a simple visual messaging service, which is what it was just a lifetime messaging, face-to-face, quick messaging service, really. Slightly, but more group-based than the SMS services. But way of setting up little groups for people to communicate with. People started doing it so much, and people started thinking, why don't we add this feature? Why don't we add that to it?
Yeah. Now it's become more of like a marketplace now because people can set up an online business on Facebook.
Yeah, it is. It actually grew out of that, and it just became a total ship. But that happens with a lot of things in the world. A lot of things start out as one thing, and because they succeed in that in a particular way, they grow into something altogether bigger and different. Something I saw on the TV a couple of weeks ago that's slightly crude but kind of amusing is that surgical gloves, disposable surgical gloves, which were actually developed in Australia, were developed by a company that had previously been making condoms. Exactly. They essentially, but because it was essentially the same technology.
Yeah.
It was essentially the same technology, so they were able to start making these inexpensive disposable gloves.
Oh God.
So that's one of these slightly amusing kind of things. But they were doing something well, but were able to. But saw a sideways move and made it work.
Well, speaking of starting out, I'm using a social media called Web Talk. They're in their beta testing, and I'm finding it's helping me get success.
Yeah, as I said, the thing, the trouble with all of these types of things is that Web Talk might work very well. But you need a lot of web talkies to web talk with.
I've got 7.2 million users already. I mean, it's not a lot compared to Facebook and Instagram and all that, but it's something.
It's a drop in the ocean compared to that's the big. There's 7.2 million people in the world.
Well, I've already got like 151 followers in 3 months, so that's good.
Yeah.
Whereas my Facebook and Instagram business page in 1 year is not a big following, but that's what I'm happy about. Well,
they're always tricky. And it is a fluky market. That's the other thing. You need to fluke into the right.
This is what I don't get. Like, on YouTube, you get people's channels, they're just doing crap, and they got like 1 million subscribers, whereas you get an intelligent, talented person like me, and I've got 60 subscribers. I don't get that.
Well, that I cannot answer, except that people like to be entertained.
Gotcha.
People like to not think. So, the one you are thinking of was probably the classic one, which is a person whose YouTube channel consists of them opening boxes.
Yeah, and just doing stupid things.
Yeah, something like that. Or sometimes they're just doing stupid things, and sometimes they're doing things that are quite harmless, but just quite, why would... But they're doing something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. As often it is the fact they're doing something slightly different, slightly odd, slightly quirky. I mean, I can remember when probably the first of these kind of things was, what was her name, Jenny Cam?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Which was a young lady who put cameras up in her house, and if you paid, you could see her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, doing whatever she did.
Oh, God.
She made a fortune. Well, there are all sorts. I mean, she was literally, I think that the only place that wasn't shown was the bathroom.
Yeah, that's just weird because you get people on YouTube that doing like pranks and all that. They seem to be...
Well, there's always been a prank market.
Yeah.
Don't forget, that used to be a major... Not a mainstay, there's always at least one prank show on television. There's always been prank shows on television. So, doing pranks has always been something that people watch because sometimes they're clever. A lot of the time you say, oh, really? But every so often you say, yay, you've done something smart. And a lot of the watching is in the hope of seeing something good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess that's just what sells at the end of the day. I don't know. But it all dies out eventually.
Yeah.
Because YouTube too, they've come to a point in their algorithms where they're trying, if you've got like, say, I don't know, 1 million subscribers, it just shows up first in the feed. And all these keywords, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, well, the other thing is that success breeds success. And since YouTube is making money from the advertising that is sold on these sites, they will project these sites to make more money, to make more. It becomes a feedback loop. It becomes a feedback loop, a self-reinforcing loop. So it actually becomes self-reinforcing. So it's almost too late to get into it unless you actually invent something radically new. And even then, you've got to be lucky. Because what you have to do is get somebody who is listened to by a lot of people recognise you. If that happens, then bang, you're away.
Yeah, that'll happen eventually for me. Eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
Slowly.
Yeah.
Because I've just started we're live streaming on Twitch, and I've got a very I don't have a very big audience yet on Twitch, but slowly, yeah. Welcome to the algorithm world.
Yes, the world of modern technology, where we have surrendered so much to the machine.
Yes, not enough to the mind.
Or actually to the man who designed the machine. who sometimes, and here's one that actually doesn't know what the machine is actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would not be surprised if no person actually knew how, get back to the Google algorithm, which is the most complex one running around, how it actually works.
Yeah.
Because there's so many parts to it now that I don't think anybody has actually sat down and teased out all the possible interactions that can happen with it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a complicated piece of code.
It's more than just a complicated piece of code. There's many complicated pieces of code. Very many. As I said, I've got a nephew who does it for a living.
Yeah, well...
He actually codes for Google.
Wow. He must have a headache every day. I actually tried to write an algorithm in Python. I thought it was just, what the hell am I doing?
Well, most algorithms are quite... To write an algorithm, first of all, you write your pseudocode.
Yeah.
And to get the pseudocode right, then the actual coding is a specialist job for a coder.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what I've discovered over the years. I mean, I did quite a bit of this kind of stuff 40, 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I actually wrote a complete suite using a database program to run the school on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, keep student records that interacted with their school, with their accounts and things.
Mm-hmm.
It was massive.
Oh, God, yeah. No, coding, it's... You either have it in you or you don't to do computer science. Wasn't for me.
But actual code itself is a different skill altogether.
Yeah.
So there are two skills needed. One is the algorithm design.
Yeah.
Working out what you want to do.
Yeah.
An efficient way of doing it.
Yeah.
Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe. Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe.
And what can go wrong while you are doing, that's the biggest problem with most of these nowadays, is actually working out potential conflicts in your system.
Mm.
And then the coding is taking those ideas and putting them into the rigid structure of whatever language you are using to write your coding.
Well, there's so many languages out there. You got Python, Ruby, JavaScript.
Yeah,
CSS.
all of which do subtly different things.
Yeah. Xcode.
But I go back to the straight algorithmic languages like Pascal, basic Pascal.
Mm.
And even one called Pirate, which lasted for about 2 years.
Mm.
So I wrote one beautiful routine in.
You did a bit of coding yourself, Patrick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Good on you.
At one stage, I was even writing machine code.
Yeah.
For an Apple IIe.
Wow, you remember the first Apple computers?
Yes, I remember the first Apple. I remember the first Tandies.
You remember, what about PC and Microsoft?
Oh, they're Johnny come lately.
Hmm.
They're new.
Do you think Bill Gates plagiarized Microsoft?
That I don't know.
Because he was in and out of court in the 80s.
Oh, there were all sorts of things because with all of these things, there were so many overlapping features. But bear in mind the big war back in the early stage was between the Appleverse, where if you bought, and this is once you got past the first MS-DOS machine, we're still dealing with MS-DOS on an IBM type machine, on an Intel-based machine, and at the same time you had the Apple system, where, say with the Apple, you opened the box, and you could do what you wanted to do immediately. Whereas you opened a box with the Microsoft system, the MS-DOS loaded into it, and you were given a command line. And you actually had to do anything like, go, you had to enter the name of the program you wanted to run with the correct DOS, all that stuff. You had very strict rules. You actually had to be taught how to work the computer. Yes, because of this, they were cheaper. So they sold to a lot of people, a lot of institutions, and then found out they were paying a lot for people to make them work. So I'm still a firm believer that the wrong side lost those original wars. So Windows actually is a direct emulation of what the Mac was selling.
Well,
the Macs have been doing what Windows are doing, have been doing that for 10 years.
Yeah, look, I talk to a lot of people in the tech world, and no one has a simple answer if Bill Gates plagiarised Microsoft. Because
there is no answer.
Because he nearly went bankrupt too.
Yeah, but there is no answer to that question because an operating system is a huge program and they're all essentially the same. They all have to do essentially the same kind of thing. And it's how you build the program to make it easier to use, and how you build it to make it more efficient to use. And let's not forget that back when MS-DOS was being first developed, we were just moving from 8-bit to 16-bit computers. Yes, I'm talking about 16 bits of RAM, of RAM, not RAM, 16 bits of processor, 16-bit processors. I mean, nowadays our processors have gigabytes, megabytes in the processor, let alone in the chip. That's crazy. So what he had to develop, what they had to develop in those days were very, very efficient, very lean programs. And Bill Gates, and whether or not he borrowed things from things that other people had done, we don't know. I mean, just as whether or not the Mac world with its Windows icon mouses and pull-down menus, which was the feature of the Mac world, ever since Lisa, got that idea from Xerox. Mac did not invent that idea, but they just protected it.
There was a whole war with IBM, Xerox, as well.
Yeah, that was the Mac. The Mac Xerox fight was about that whole pattern of things, and they came to an agreement eventually that maybe Xerox had the idea, but Mac made it work, so we'll pay Xerox something.
Well, it's not just Bill Gates plagiarising. I think Mark Zuckerberg did some plagiarising too with Facebook.
I'm not going to say yes on that because after all there are laws of libel. But equally, what Zuckerberg and his mob were doing was not radically different to kind of thing that already existed. It was just originally focused on a different market. So it's probably almost inevitable that he used ideas similar to and possibly derived from other things that were already working. But whether he actively plagiarised or unconsciously copied, or in fact quite possibly, as a case of parallel evolution, developed the same, because of the optimal solution himself, uniquely, we don't know. Because quite a few of these problems really do have one best solution.
What's that?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, hang on. I'm not going to talk about how SMS message services work.
Yeah. Well, you remember before Facebook was popular, you had Bebo and I think it was
No, I don't.
You never used it, MSN or all that?
I had nothing to do with any of that.
That was one.
For two reasons.
Yeah.
One, all my computing was done in the Mac world.
Yeah.
Or it was all done in the Mac OS.
Mm.
And secondly, it didn't interest me.
Mm. No, well, those were the chat sites back then, before...
But I wasn't interested in those chats. I wasn't interested in chatting to strangers over a telephone line.
Yeah.
I know it's his line. I don't chat to people over the phone very much.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to talk to somebody, I walk up and say good day.
Gotcha.
And I have enough of that already. I had enough face-to-face communication in my life not to feel the need to go elsewhere.
Mm.
This is the thing, you see. To me, it always strikes me being weird that all of these things were invented in places where, in fact, most of the people involved had the capacity to do a lot of what they were doing online in this mystical, technological way, face-to-face.
Mm.
I mean, this was also university students to communicate with each other. Mm. In my university student days, we communicated with each other by sitting around having a cup of coffee.
Well, that's the
Not
best.
a computer in sight, because after all, computers weren't existing in our world at that stage. If you wanted to run a computer there, you had to go down to the computer on the campus, the computer, wait for a month to get into the thing, and punch 2,000 cards for the card reader.
Oh, God. Yeah, I think, face-to-face communication is better, having a coffee, although we're doing this show remotely on the phone.
Yeah.
That's still the same, we're socialising.
Yeah.
Just not in a studio yet, but one day when I have a studio, get the microphones and, but, podcasting's changed, like everything's done on Skype or Zoom now.
Yeah.
But that's still face-to-face.
Well, at least you see the face.
Yeah.
Kind of. In a jerky kind of way. When you do, you get the face, and suddenly you get the face looking slightly different.
Yeah.
The transitions aren't always seamless.
Yeah. You're going into detail. I like that.
Yeah.
No, but other than that, your generation was a different time with technology too.
Oh, yes. I mean, I would be among the earliest computer adopters that I know. I wrote my first program in BASIC in 1975.
Wow.
April, I think, from memory. About then, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because a friend had just been brought in had just bought a computer.
Yeah.
And it was driven on BASIC.
Mm-hmm.
And I have looked at the land and said, gee, this is easy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was. I mean, BASIC, those simple algorithmic languages were easy to use.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a simple program whose entire purpose, never did run it, I don't think you believe me, was to have a computer sitting there and then at random intervals of time go beep, beep, beep,
wow.
beep. That's all the program did.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
It was rather fun.
But now, because Apple at one stage, they weren't mass-producing their computers back then, but now they do in China.
Well, Apple has been mass-producing computers for 30 years.
But were they better hardware back then? They weren't made in China when they first started.
Well, their hardware is pretty good anyway.
Yeah.
I've never had trouble with my Mac hardware.
No.
No.
Problem I have with Apple is they just want a software update too much. It gets annoying.
Well, they all software update. I mean, I find that the Windows constantly update. I mean, I'm finding that my Windows is upgrading more than my Mac.
You serious? I thought Windows only update, do a full update twice a year.
But they get these constant updates.
Yeah.
Constant upgrades. basically every time I turn my Windows machine on, it says, "Oh, you've got to upgrade now. We've got another, got another tweak,
Yeah.
another security change."
Gets a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
Just get fed up with it.
So Mac major upgrades are quite infrequent. But Mac tends to be more responsive, tends to be faster upgrading. There's a problem. That's the thing.
But it takes up room and RAM and all that on your device. That's what I hate about it.
Well, the actual upgrades take once properly installed. Your upgraded operating system is probably not much bigger than it was before, because they do clean out the unnecessary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you've got a rather small computer, or you are an avid collector of major bulky files like video files and things.
And that's what I am, music and all that.
Oh, well, if you're major, then it is not the operating system that's filling up your space.
Yeah.
It's your programs.
Well,
Go and look at you can actually get quite simply on your computer. You can actually get an overview of what your memory allocation is.
Yeah.
Have a look at it, and you will say, "Oh, so that's why I'm getting full."
Well,
it's not the operating system.
I've actually moved to the iCloud storage.
Yeah.
Which I find is actually better.
Yeah. Well, I haven't even upgraded my iCloud because I don't need to.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to pay to store stuff in America.
Fair enough.
Storing it.
No, but it's just better because it takes off the RAM. Because I've only got 8 gig of RAM on the laptop. It just takes less storage. The iCloud, I think.
What's your Mac storage? What's your bulk storage on the laptop?
8 gig.
That's tiny.
Yeah, the laptop.
That's tiny, but I've got 64 gig on the phone.
I know. I've got 128 gig on my iPhone, but the more RAM, they charge you more.
Well, that's not RAM. This is storage. So it's different, don't you?
Oh, you're talking about the iCloud storage?
No, I'm talking about the phone. And don't forget, RAM isn't storage.
What's RAM?
RAM. RAM is storage, but there are two types of RAM.
Yeah.
Random access memory. So it's storage. It's just storage, but it's bulk storage. Yes.
Yeah.
But when they also talk about the your chip, the RAM on the chip itself.
Yeah.
But 8 gigabyte of storage on your pad is nothing.
I know. Well, that's 8 gig of RAM. That's the problem with the Macs and the laptops.
So that's actually that have to be. I don't know. I mean, that's well. I can't see how that's what that is. To be honest, you've got me baffled there slightly.
No, well, the iCloud, which is the cloud, I got 200 gigs of storage. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's how they're making them, because now they're making the MacBook Pros and Airs. I'm talking the laptop. You can't change the RAM in them anymore. They're soldered them in.
Well,
which is ridiculous.
Well.
The old models, you could actually take the RAM out and put like 32 or 64 gig, 128 gig of RAM. You could. You can't do that now.
Well, that's because a lot of it is to do with the shape of the. No, RAM isn't storage. Storage. So RAM is what the memory is what the operating system uses.
Yeah.
RAM is what the operating system uses.
Yeah.
And that's the storage is a different animal altogether. Just trying to find it. Never remember where this article. Every unit you look at has a subtly different way they work it.
Mm. But that's what's going on in the tech world.
Yeah.
They want to.
My iPhone has storage of 64 gigabytes,
Yeah.
of which I use 21.4.
Yeah.
But that's for storage.
Well, you're on the SE, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the new... I've got the new model of the SE. I'm on 128 gig.
I've got an SE too.
Yeah, they're a great phone.
Yeah, yeah. But in other words, it's basically an 11 in a 7 body.
Yeah. But the problem is, Apple, the old iPhones like the 5, they don't software update anymore.
Well, they can't. Because your hardware won't handle it.
And that's what I don't like. When they update, it just...
Well, this happens a lot.
Yeah.
Your hardware has trouble. Yeah. I can't see it.
No, it's all right. But no, it's good that you point that out.
So RAM is the working space of the computer.
Yeah.
How the computer works in. And the storage is another matter altogether. And, bugger. Did I just turn you off?
No.
Oh, right. Yeah, I turned the phone off. I didn't turn you off.
Oh, I can hear. No,
Yeah,
well...
I didn't hang up here.
It's... Yeah, I mean... Because the big... I know the type of compute Mac you're talking about. The big ones. Not the laptop. That's why.
Yeah.
I worked on them in university too. They got a lot of room, but they're expensive.
Well, expensive, but not, if you pay for what you get. And the new laptops are basically replacing them.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Because it's the new improved chips. It's a matter of getting rid of the heat.
Yeah.
Which one of the issues. And the other issue is the storage capacity. And now that you've gone to solid state storage.
Yeah, SSD.
Huh?
SSD.
Yeah. You don't buy it. You don't have hard drive. You don't have spinning discs anymore.
No.
It means that you can actually make the portable ones so much more portable.
Yeah.
And you pack so much more memory into them.
Yeah.
And also you can pack a bigger driver chip, a bigger central chip.
Yeah.
They used to use Intel quad cores and things, now that's going over their own chips again, the ARM chip like this. The actual, so with computers, you've got those two types of memory. You've got the RAM, which is the working memory, and then you've got the storage, which is also actually random access, but it's not called RAM, it's actually called the storage. And a small laptop would have had 8 gigabytes of storage when it first came out. But that is a very small amount of storage. As I said, the phone is 128 gigabytes, that's half the size. I think you have got cortical technology there.
That's it. Yes. But it's what it is, dude. It's like my MacBook Air is about 1,500, brand new.
Yeah.
But that's the latest Mojave software update.
Yeah.
Because when I was in university, we'd get a message from IT about when Mac went updated to Sierra, it was causing problems.
There were a couple of issues a couple of times.
And the IT were telling us it's best not to update for a lot of reasons with Mac.
Yeah, there were. I mean, every so often they do an update.
Yeah.
And on some of the platforms, not all of them, it doesn't work properly.
And that's frustrating.
And that happens because, don't forget, these are immensely complicated programs. When you look at the size of them, it's in. And, again, nobody actually knows what's in them.
Spark innovation across your federal agency with IT hardware, software, and services from Connection Public Sector Solutions. Your technology procurement challenges will meet their match as Connection's dedicated account managers offer exceptional customer service, and our extensive list of supported federal contracts means you'll always get a price that works for your budget. Learn more about innovation for your agency with Connection Public Sector Solutions at connection.com/fedcontracts.
Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe.
Really. There's too much one person to know, and even the team of people. And what can happen with this is as obviously happened with the Sierra. What I'm saying was that there's a small conflict got built in. Two things were trying to do two different things at the same time, I think, from memory.
Yeah.
And it just didn't, given the right question, it didn't work. Perhaps.
What can you do? Nothing.
I mean, there were the days, in the good old days, where I think it was with MS-DOS. One version of MS-DOS. If you did something like, I think if you divided by 3 or something, it couldn't give you the right answer.
Yeah.
One version of MS-DOS could not divide fractionally because everything had kind of pushed too far into another into their thinking about everything is floating points.
Yeah.
And it couldn't actually handle fixed points calculations. And that had the early version of MS-DOS, if I remember correctly. It was 5 from memory, and they just don't pull it. It simply didn't work. You know, I mean, they said, it only affects some systems.
The
I think the problem was, one of the systems would have been banking.
Yeah. The problem I found with Apple and Android, Android's come a long way. They've improved a lot. Now, if you put an Apple, they want to overprice everything.
Oh, Apple pricing is always notorious, yes.
And now I've got a $13 HP keyboard that works better than my $75 Apple keyboard that's not working anymore. I don't get it.
Well, again, no, not sure what keyboard you had or have.
Yeah. And I've got a $20.
I've got a couple of keyboards. I bought them. I upgraded, I bought a replacement Mac keyboard.
Yeah.
Because I did a lot of number work, so I upgraded from the little one that came with the machine, the one that had the keypad.
Yeah.
And they both work perfectly.
Yeah,
so
but
I get the old one with the pad.
You see, Apple want to charge you $200 for a mouse, but you can just use the $20 mouse.
The Magic Mouse is more than just a mouse.
Ah, gotcha.
The Magic Mouse, if you look at it, and it comes with the computer anyway, don't you? You buy the new computer and it comes with it.
Yeah, not with the laptops.
I know, but yeah, has this no buttons, a completely smooth top. Because the top is a scratch pad. The Apple mouse, the Magic Mouse, actually has a scratch pad built in. So you can do things like flick between screens by just flicking the top of the mouse. Yeah. You scroll. You can do all the kind. You can do 2 or 3. You can do the 2, 3, 4 finger kind of things on the mouse. That you do on a touch screen.
Yeah, but to me, a mouse is a mouse, Patrick.
Oh, trust me. Once you've used the Magic Mouse, particularly if you're running multiple site screens up, and I have 4 screens up all the time.
Wow, you work like that. I can't.
No. They're the 4 ones I have open all.
Oh, God.
I have the calendar.
Yeah.
Which has reminders and notes. I have the mail and I have the browser. and my Windows app as well.
Well, you know the Apple Calendar ish. I hate it. I use Microsoft Office 365 because the Apple Calendar's shit.
Oh?
It just doesn't do what I want it to do.
It took me a bit to a couple of things that I wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you want to do with it?
Just put all my dates in, but then when I want to schedule stuff with Zoom, it works better with Office 365, so that's what I use.
Well, that's because it's in the family.
Yeah. And Skype and all that.
With Office, if you want to use Zoom, don't get Zoom. Partly the things are in the family.
Yeah.
I do know that when you put a calendar entry into the Mac world, one tomorrow, incidentally, I'll remember that, it kind of expands the whole thing out rather than giving the impressions, but it still works. It just looks ugly.
True.
But you still fire it up. Just that instead of having the neat little press here button for the link, you've got the whole link typed out in all its 10-line glory with its links and its hashes and its do this and go to and all that in it. But still works. Just looks ugly.
Well, you look at Apple, they've got their own version of Microsoft Word, Pages, Keynote, Numbers.
Yeah, and they had those for as long as Microsoft had theirs.
It's pretty good, the Apple
Yeah, I use Numbers a bit because it is easier to share that through the iCloud than it is Microsoft.
Yeah.
Because it does it automatically, you tell it not to. So I've actually got a couple of spreadsheets that I share between my 3 devices.
Yeah.
And that works very nicely.
Well, when I was in uni, we were told to use Microsoft Word to do all our essays.
Yeah. Well, that is because when lecturers are working on things like this, they really need to only have one set of instructions to follow in front of them. One way of marking things up. If they want to mark things up, they want to mark them up using the same controls for everyone, the same control over it. So otherwise, they have to learn 3 or 4 systems and constantly switch.
Yeah. But see, with I think with Pages, you can send it as a Word document or something.
You can save it as a Word document, not necessarily perfect.
Yeah.
Because you get these funny things like not all fonts are cross-compatible.
Yeah.
And occasionally you must have some kind of more complex structure.
Yeah.
And it might not be conveyed completely accurately. A cable mightn't map exactly into Word, but you can save it as a Word. But the reason why, they want you to use Word is so that the person marking can mark the document using the same program for everything.
Well, yeah,
with the same controls, and I think like the same comments field is simply working in the same way.
Well, I used Word since school anyway, and
yeah, well, I mean, one uses Word because it's available. But as I said, I use the Pages and its precursor.
Yeah.
I started off using Word briefly first with Word Perfect.
Yeah.
Which has now ceased to exist as far as I can see. Another word processor program of that type.
I've been using Pages to fill out paperwork, which I found Pages is pretty good on Apple.
Yep. Oh, I mean, they're similar programs. They work well.
Yeah.
The only thing is you have to remember which one you're in, to remember which button to press at times.
Well, that's exactly right. The shortcuts are different.
That's right, which button to press there.
You see, you know, with Mac and yeah, I mean, I like Apple better than Android.
It is. Because they were the machine of choice for a person who thought about it when they were buying it. The first computer I bought actually was a very expensive laptop. 3 laptops before laptops were even existed. Crazy little machine, but nevertheless, it was actually a laptop. Back in about 1990. Yes, 1990. No, it was earlier. Yeah, around 1990, because I was doing my studies at that stage here. And then my first one I bought after that was the first of the modular Macs. What was it? Good grief. I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, it was a little, the little box that had the screen on the front, and you plugged your 3.25-inch floppy in it, and away you went.
You sound like a very big Apple fanatic.
Well, I started with them.
Yeah.
And because of that, because I'm comfortable with them, I keep using them.
No, fair enough. But see, I like both PC and Mac as well.
As I said, I use the PC. I have the PC emulator loaded on my back, so I actually run Windows anyway.
Well,
some of the purposes.
I've always found Microsoft Word and Publisher Excel works better on the PC than they do on the Apple, because Apple have got their own.
That's because we're their home.
Because Apple do have, you can get Word and that.
I have Word and Excel loaded on my Mac, and I tend to use those rather than Pages.
Yeah.
Because I'm sharing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And because half the world, more than 2/3 of the world uses Word, so you tend to have to use the Word, the program that everybody else uses. But certainly they do work better in their own environment.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. And it's really annoying that when you get Microsoft Office, and I got a 3-pack because I picked up, you have the 2 computers, access is only available on the Windows platform, not on the Mac platform. And that's annoying.
It is
annoying. Because I didn't want to play around with databases, but I decided it's not worth it.
Yeah.
At one stage, I was looking at setting up a database for information we were keeping.
Yeah.
But the pros are doing it, and they're doing a much bigger job than I would have.
They all got their good and bad anyway.
There ain't no bad system really, and the argument which is better is not the question, is which is the one that you are used to using and with which you are comfortable. That is the only sensible question in this case really.
Well, with Apple, you can you can actually use what's called a remote desktop on a PC, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you can actually
use all sorts of things. Actually, there are remote desktops available for every operating system.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You know, there are remote desktop programs for every operating system.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very useful for debugging and solving problems.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually see it. You see it in the shop when the cash register goes down. It's a computer. And we say, okay, and the fellow turns on we hook him up and we see the mouse, the cursor moving around in all of its own sum. That's been run from Sydney.
Wow.
You never had that happen to you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, if you have complex, particularly commercial software, that is how they fix it.
Well, you want to know a funny thing? When I was in my undergrad degree, all of a sudden this Mac just turned itself on by itself and just started moving the mouse. I was like, we were like, what the hell is going on? Someone must have been operating it.
That could have been a remote operation, yeah.
We thought, what is this?
Yes, you can. If Macs are asleep but not switched off, it would have been asleep, not switched off. If it's switched off, you really can't get at it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it were asleep, then yes. provided that door was left open.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, after all you would need would be a Bluetooth keyboard and be next door. Simple as that. If you think about it. You have a Bluetooth. And that is the simplest way to do it. I mean, I can do it at home. I mean, I could have the Mac in the back room, and I think if I turned screen mirroring on, I could have the screen mirrored to my TV.
Yeah.
And I could actually run the Mac from sitting in my lounge room with my keyboard on my lap there, and somebody in that room wouldn't have the foggiest to have what was happening.
And they're like confused, and they're like, what the hell's going on here?
Turn the camera on and all sorts of evil things.
But other than that, it's crazy world out there, you know. All this technology.
So the way we look at it makes it crazy. Most of the world is very ordinary. That's the problem.
Look, I was reading up some journal articles, I think it was this month. It was about, because I have an interest in the CIA and all that, and there was this Havana syndrome going on in Cuba quite a few years ago.
Infamous. Is it subsonic sound waves or is it what? Yes.
And people are reporting all these symptoms of a headache, just fatigue.
That's a story. Yeah, that's a very old story.
Is it?
Well, at least 3 or 4 years.
But see, that was classified information.
No, I read the story 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
At least. Oh, no, it's not a new one at all, this one.
Oh, okay. No, it was new to me.
But every so often they dig it out again.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Experience America's favorite vape with the Vuse Alto Welcome Bundle. Get 1 Slate device and 3 smooth tastes with your choice of nicotine level. All for just $9.99 plus tax when you enter code WELCOME at Vuse.com. Vuse. Charge beyond. Vapor products. Underage sale prohibited. Website and offers restricted to age 21 and over tobacco consumers. Based on 2020 retail scan data of reported total Vuse Alto sales volumes.
Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe.
I never heard about it on the news, that's all.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
What interest would that story be to an Australian?
Not much, but it is to me. I'm Australian.
No. Let's not forget the news you see has been curated, has been arranged, has been edited. I think I saw it on the New York Times website.
Yep. Well,
but either that or another site, but possibly there. I think it was there, but that's certainly several years ago.
Well, how many Australians do you think are interested in Donald Trump, and yet he still gets reported on the news? I don't get that.
A lot of people, because as President of the United States of America,
yeah,
he makes decisions that affect our life directly.
I thought it was the Prime Minister.
Yes, but what America decides on things like trade,
yep,
or foreign policy affects how Australia sees the world.
Gotcha.
So don't forget that we take a lot of our direction on foreign policy from America, and we trade a lot with America. Mm-hmm. So if we decide that we're going to close our waters off to trade, as has happened with China, for instance, we would be hurt. Mm-hmm. But because Australia has this quite close relationship with America, if America changes its policies, that affects how Australia policies. Because we can't afford to be too far away from American policy if we're going to expect America to be on our side in other fights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why, So America is still one of the major. That is why we hear about Clinton. That's why we hear about Xi. That's why we hear about Johnson in England.
Yeah.
England not so much, except for the fact that it's part of our cultural heritage.
But how come you don't hear about Canada and New Zealand much?
Small country.
But Canada's got like the same reciprocal agreement as Australia, you see.
Yes, but
similar.
Small country. So it doesn't have as much impact.
England's a small country. That's like what? Not big.
England is a big country in terms of trade and things.
Oh yeah.
Until 30 years ago, England was the third superpower in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because trade powers.
Mm.
Then there's this whole business with the economic union and things like that that's gone backward. But England was historically.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact is that whole Commonwealth, which is a funny institution, but there's all of these countries an attachment to England.
Mm-hmm.
That has some advantages and kind of things like this. But we don't hear much about Boris Johnson as we do about Trump. No, because England is no longer as important. We don't hear about Canada, but Canada is a small country.
Mm.
We don't hear much about New Zealand, except we do hear quite a bit about New Zealand.
Well, earthquakes in New Zealand and all that.
Earthquakes, all we hear about, they're the good things they're doing. I mean, we know who the Prime Minister of New Zealand is and things like this.
Mm.
And for the life of me, can't remember who the Prime Minister of Canada is. That's still true or not. I've lost track.
Yep. Gotcha. Well, no, it's... I mean, now we're hearing about Joe Biden, but it seems that everything's
he's the President of the United States. What he says has a hell of a lot to do with how America goes.
Yeah.
How America goes, a lot of the world, per force, goes as well.
Why has everything calmed down since Joe Biden is a president now?
Oh, come on.
I don't get it. Like, since Donald Trump's out, people aren't on edge.
Donald Trump's presidency was marked by Mr. Trump's capacity to make a lot of decisions without thinking.
Yep.
He would react and respond and crash, bang, wallop.
Yeah.
So a lot of things happened. There's a lot of people, much light. So, and also he was a rather abrasive personality.
Yeah.
He made a lot of people unhappy.
Well, he was popular before because he actually had a hair versus hair match with Vince McMahon actually at WrestleMania. He at one stage owned the World Championship. He wasn't actually a wrestler before, but he owned World Championship Wrestling. Yeah, and then he sold it. He owns Miss World, Miss Universe. And anyway, Steve Austin stunned him. That was funny as hell. Yeah. But he was likeable back then, but since he became president, I don't know what the hell happened. Two factors happened. Yeah. One, Hillary Clinton, despite her huge capacity, managed to irritate a lot of people for various reasons, most of which I don't understand. A lot of people loathed her, and I mean loathed her. And Donald Trump came up with simple solutions. Yeah. Here is the answer. Ben, we will build a beautiful wall. Here is the answer. Here is the answer. We will do this. We will you will make America great again. Was his campaign slogan. He just caught the feeling of a lot of people who were just generally unhappy with the way things were going. And unfortunately, the American political system allows a bloke who can attract enough of those people can actually elect him. I mean, bear in mind that he, first time around, he didn't get half the vote. He got less than half the vote, but because of their
totally ridiculous system, and that's, I think everybody in half the American level is the system for electing president.
Mm-hmm.
Although he didn't get half the vote, and a lot of places where he did get the vote was because of essentially corrupt systems.
Mm.
But he kept on saying, he just kept on telling a lot of lies. I mean, they counted him now by the time he finished his presidency. I think they stopped counting the prove and unproved that he had made, because it was into the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,000
Yeah.
4 years. You know, it was many a day, 20, 30 a day, every day.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know, Patrick. It's all a popularity contest over there in the US.
Really it was.
Mm.
And although Hillary Clinton was probably the better choice, she was still tainted by her husband, tainted by her reaction to some of the events around her husband, by minor scandal involving some funny money dealings that she was kind of partly involved in, and things like this. Whereas Trump just an outright crook, but he admitted it.
Mm.
I mean, Trump just kind of blatantly says, the facts are what I say they are. There are facts and alternative facts.
Mm.
So his press secretary, you say this is a fact, I say, well, here's another alternative fact.
Mm. I'm just happy to live in Australia, that's it. I'm proud to be Australian.
Yeah, we do all right here. We might like our Prime Minister, but I'm not going to argue about that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us do, some of us don't. But apart from that, we have a pretty comfortable existence, yeah.
You know, I'm just blessed to be lucky to be Aussie, you know. And, it's, so that's what I read about the Havana syndrome, about that.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting thing about the CIA.
Yes, the Havana system was somehow put down to the Soviets working with the Cubans. I'm not really sure it was. My feeling is it could actually have been sad building syndrome, because the buildings, despite their best efforts, was riddled with wiring as well.
But other than that, do you think the CIA is actually denied of alien existence, Patrick?
Sorry?
Do you think the CIA is denied alien extraterrestrial life? Is it true that aliens are out there?
To answer that question, there are two parts.
Mm-hmm.
Quite possibly.
Yep.
There exist in our universe other intelligent life forms.
Mm-hmm.
Almost certainly not have they made contact with us within the way that people say they have.
Well, there was a person named Bob.
The problem being the ridiculous distances involved.
Yeah.
And the absurd stories they were the absurdity of the stories, and also some interesting things about when these stories started happening and the shape of them, etc. I mean, the flying saucer is a flying saucer. It did not exist before about the 1950s.
Well, the Nazis tried to build a flying saucer.
Well, that's been have all sorts of plots. I mean, it's a totally useless flying shape. But why anybody would build a flying saucer, heaven knows.
Look, if I was to see an alien face to face in real life, I'd say yes, they exist. Or if I saw a UFO crash and actually saw a spare part, I'd say yes, Patrick, they are out there. But until then,
until such time as that, yeah, be cynical.
And
be cynical.
You know,
I mean, what is now well known is the famous Area 53.
53? Wow.
Ever heard of famous Area 53?
No, I've heard of Area 51.
Sorry, Area 51, sorry. Famous Area 51. I thought I was just testing your the base for the Black Hawk aircraft.
Yeah, I think there's an Area 52, an underground.
There are other ones, but they're all just but the Area 51 was its major function of why it was so secret It was the base for the Black Hawk aircraft, and the Oxcart, its predecessor.
Well, the conspiracy theorists are saying they're reverse engineering UFO spare parts at Area 51.
Oh, yeah. The trouble is we've never seen anything actually in operation.
Well, Bob Lazar, who apparently worked at Area 51, he says there's alien life form there.
Lots of people apparently would say that, but as I said, we've never actually seen anything from it. But in particular, as I said, its major function was as an airport base for those top secret planes.
Yep.
And then if you're flying the most secret plane in the world, and the Black Hawk or the Oscar, which is the one-seater version, were the most secret planes in the world. Over the years, they became better. And Area 51 was declassified in 1971. Yeah, 1971 they declassified that, and that's what's going on here. And people have been there since then.
But so you can't actually physically walk into Area 51?
You can't walk into any bloody Air Force base in America.
Even in Australia?
You can't walk into it. You just can't walk into anywhere like that. They're secure.
People have tried on YouTube, but you get...
I know, but damn it, Phil, they might as well try to walk into Fort Knox or somewhere like that. No, seriously, this is a secure Air Force base where they operate. This is where they test secret equipment.
Yeah. There's a place...
As I said, they'll test it. And so you can walk onto some Air Force bases, but you try walking to just RAAF, Fairburn and Ham. You just try walking through the front gate there and see how far you get.
You won't get far. You get told to leave.
Exactly. So to go through channels, get the paperwork. There's nothing surprising about the fact that it's secret.
Well, look, there's a place in Australia...
There are places I'm just about ordinary airport places. Yeah. There are secret places in Australia, yeah.
There's a place called Pine Gap in Australia.
I know Pine Gap, yes, which is actually an American base.
What's Pine Gap?
Pine Gap is an American base where they have earth stations and radar for the global defence network. So, somebody decides to press the button.
Yeah.
The signal, among other places, would go through Pine Gap. As part of the American Global Defence Network.
Gotcha.
But it also has early warning radars and things there as well. So that's why you have those great big domes.
Yeah.
Because in those big domes, they have dishes. And the reason why they have the domes is you can't see which way the dish is pointing, so you don't know what they're doing.
Now, if you were to try to walk into Pine Gap, what do you think would happen?
You would get to the front gate, maybe. And you would be told, you would be asked, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And you'd say, I don't know. And then probably they'd say, well, so would you mind coming with us, please?
Yeah.
And a couple of large gentlemen would come and they would escort you to some kind of facility where they might lock you up and spend a couple of hours asking you what you're really doing. And if they decided you had to harmless galoot mucking around, they'd just hand you over to the local police who would then charge you with various offences.
Yeah.
If they thought you were seriously trying to do something, you'd probably never see Australia again.
Wow. Because people have been stupid enough to try to cross into Area 51 on YouTube. I'm serious.
I know. I mean, the thing is, as I said, it is a secure Air Force base.
Gosh, yeah.
I mean, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, it's probably fairly high security because it has a history of being a place where secure, with secret operations were carried out. Those secret operations were declassified in 1971. But it was just part of another major Air Force base.
You see,
you'd have trouble walking into the front gate of Area 1.
Area 1, I like that, Patrick. I could build an Area 1.
Yes.
Nothing to see. Move along.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. And it would be very little. See, I mean, that infamous dissection video with all its funny things that didn't exist at the time was supposed to have been taken in it. Like the telephone belonged 10 years later and things like that. It's just a load of...
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have formed like UFO cults in the world because they saw a Photoshop of a UFO, think it's real.
Well, you don't have to Photoshop it.
Yeah.
There are unexplained atmospheric phenomena. To use a technical term.
Yeah,
there are lights in the sky. There are lights that move around. There are lights that keep moving very fast, but they aren't really because they're a lot closer than you imagine them. A small light that's 100 metres away, if you think that it is 2 kilometres away, if it moves 10 centimetres, it looks like it's moving, hundreds of metres in an instant, things like that. Because people have things like that, they're very hard, great trouble getting the size and the dimensions of things right.
Well, the point I'm trying to, people have claimed that they've been abducted by aliens in their sleep as well.
Yeah, in their sleep, and they can't remember anything about it, and all these funny, weird, and the same things seem to happen, and that's incomprehensible.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Patrick, until I see it in person, I'll say yes, they exist.
Not too easy.
Until I see an alien in person, I'd say to you, yes, Patrick, they exist.
Yeah. And my belief, the chance of actually seeing aliens walking around are 3/5 to 5/8 of bugger all.
Well, there's another conspiracy theory called reptilian people.
Oh, yeah. There's a secret cabal that people are actually dinosaurs.
Do you think that's true?
Well, I believe that the theory exists.
Now, also, too, I wanted
Again, a load of...
Yeah.
Really, when you think about it.
A load of garbage.
Really, when you think about it, it's come to the best conspiracy theories is that so often the size of the conspiracy involved renders it impossible to actually survive.
Now, see, the problem with conspiracy theory, have you heard of the chupacabra?
Which?
The chupacabra.
No, but as I said, I don't really pay much attention to them.
And what about the Yeti? You heard about the Yeti?
Oh, I've heard about the Yeti.
Is that real?
Improbable.
Okay. Well, there was a Black Panther literally sighted a couple of years ago.
The Penrith Black Panther?
Yeah.
The trouble is this same Black Panther has been sighted for the last 50 years.
It's pretty fascinating.
By now, doesn't it?
Yeah. I find that... I like that.
There have been stories about a panther being sighted for at least 50 years. That's why that team is called the Panthers.
Yeah.
Because it's a word that goes nicely with Penrith. Well, it does, Penrith Panther.
Yeah.
After you see a large black cat and you're in Penrith, of course it's a panther. The name suggests itself.
Well, there was an actual Black Panther sighted in Appin, in Campbelltown way.
Well, no.
No?
No, large. The point is, again, size is deceptive. People see something, they think it's further away than it really is, so it looks bigger. They see it at night. They don't have any concern to say they kind of exaggerate the size. The likelihood there of being a panther. Think about what is the survivability of a single large cat.
It's a hunt.
Those cats kind of survive, by having some kind of other similar cats around.
No, but yeah, I'm just telling you what's going on, you know.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about various cancers in various places. And cryptozoology. And most of it I tend to take with a very large grain of salt.
Well, if you were to Google the chupacabra, if you'd look at it now, it's been cited, actually.
Mm.
It's like this deformed animal being that's just... Yeah, if you Google it, you'd have a look.
Yeah, like I said, you have to then worry about the source of the images.
Yep.
The history of the images and all that kind of thing.
Yep.
You have to get dealing with images on a computer screen that's been generated by some other person.
Yeah, true, exactly.
And we're now in a world where image manipulation is trivial.
Mm.
And even then, let's not forget, admittedly, that the platypus was originally believed to be a fake.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these other things, let's say the apparent hybridization between radically different classes of creatures, let alone species, is just beyond imagination.
Yeah.
So one would have to actually have to see what this creature really is, if it exists in the wild and living. Anyway, one needs a living example to be comfortable with accepting the story before we could actually determine, whether or not I'm going to be satisfied with its existence, or then whether I spend time working out what it really is.
Mm.
I mean, after all, a unicorn is probably a rhinoceros. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Or somehow, something like that, things like that.
Mm.
You think about it, a rhino is a unicorn.
Yeah.
It's a horse-like animal with one horn.
Mm. It is.
When the fact the horn is in the wrong place, and possibly with a dash of the narwhal thrown in, which is the sea equivalent.
Mm.
Things like that.
That's it. Patrick, thanks for coming on today's show.
All right.
It's always great to have you on, and I love doing the podcast with you.
Okay, Stephen.
Where can people find you?
People find me?
Yeah, it's Vincent de Paul.
I really do.
You're great. It's awesome. Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the podcast. Thank you to the sponsors Grammarly Premium, vidIQ, TubeBuddy, and Amazon Music Unlimited. If you want your free trial of Amazon Music Unlimited, all you need to do is click on the link to my website to find out more. Also, too, if you'd like to send a donation, you can donate to my GoFundMe page as well. And don't forget, new episodes are out every Friday, so turn on your notifications. Also, share the podcast on your social media. And every Fridays is the best day to listen to your podcasts. Bye for now.
Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe. Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe.